Well, I'm not out camping yet, and if you look around the workshop you can obviously see I've had to pull the drivetrain out of the Jeep, and I've got those sitting alongside my spare AX15 transmission and NP231 transfer case, just as a comparison to see what the wear is on my components. And that's really what we're going to get into in this video. I'm going to rip apart the transmission I took off this vehicle, because I'm pretty sure from years of bad driving and possibly the wrong lubricant, the synchronizer rings are shot in it. But in the last video I fitted that double Cardian rear drive shaft, and that's been running pretty nice. But soon after that video I took the vehicle on a bit of a drive, getting it ready for camping, started loading the gear in it, and the vibrations became unbelievably bad. And I basically put it down to the clutch slipping. So I took the clutch out, and to no surprise it has some seriously excessive wear on it. In fact, the springs were almost popping out in some of the areas on the clutch, and they'd worn away at the edges and were kind of rattling loose, and the whole thing was kind of due for a change. The throwout bearing was gone too on it, so obviously a new clutch needs to go in. This is the NP231 transfer case I took out of my vehicle, and this is my spare. So I haven't really filmed much of it, but when I looked inside, the chain had stretched a little bit, not much, but there was a bit of chain stretch there, and you could kind of hear that as well in operating the vehicle. And the synchronizer rings had some wear on them, and so did some of the actual gears, had a bit of excessive wear on. This has done under 100k miles. Yeah, the chain much tighter. You can see visually when fitted the chain has less slop in it. And you know, the synchronizer rings looked kind of untouched really, and the wear on the gears is really just a minor loss of bluing rather than actually loss of material. So I've got this one completely rebuilt. I had some spare oil seals, and I've basically put new oil seals on the output just there on the front drive shaft, and got it kind of, you know, up together. So this one's ready to go back in, and in the winter I will build this up with an SYE. This is just going to be spares. This is just going to be donor parts and spares. This is the AX15 I pulled out of my vehicle, the one I've been driving for the last 7 or 8 years. I can't really remember. You know, it's 20 years old, over 20 years old. It's done a lot of miles. It'd be really interesting to pull this apart and see how it goes. This is the spare that came with the engine and that other NP231. Under 100k miles. You can have a look at it really. The synchronizer rings looking really good, the gears looking really good, no chips, no wear. And if you look inside the actual housings, you just don't see a lot of brass particulates and metal particulates. Yeah, it just looks to be in pretty decent condition. And even when I got the housing cleaned up, you know, it was pretty evident that it hasn't done a huge amount of work, but it has just been sitting around for a long time. So, you know, it's going to be interesting to take mine apart, and that's what we're going to do right now. We are. So that's it. See if I can lift this out. Very heavy. Oh. Put the housing there. We'll shut this just here. Oh man. Yeah, that synchronized ring looks shitty. Shiny brass and stuff inside the oil, but that probably mostly got flushed out with the old oil. This has had new oil in it recently, you can see that. But yeah, obviously just a bit scummy, but nothing too dodgy. But I think this is first, second, third and fourth, and changing kind of in and out of third has always been very clunky at late, and you can see the synchronizer rings are basically shot, and the transmission requires really a rebuild, to be honest, if I was ever going to put this back in the Jeep. So the big difference is on the spare transmission, you can see the synchronizer rings all looking really good. You know, no excess wear there. Another thing that isn't visual, but the actual noise the transmission's making. Very rough. Feels rough as well. That is grinding when that's turning there. And if you listen to the spare It's much smoother. But one big job I really want to do and get out of the way is resurfacing the flywheel. So that's what we're going to do next. We possess before us an object of unimaginable kinetic energy. And this is going to be very risky. I've already attempted to level the disc in a number of ways, and unfortunately for the machine shop to do it, I'm going to be waiting another 3 weeks. So it's up to me to do it myself. I think we're going to need a little bit of oil, but maybe we just try it dry first, see what the resistance like. The pressure. Oh shit! Man, that thing was that thing was starting to reach critical mass. Just putting some markings on the flywheel. Just have a look at it. It looks pretty good, to be honest. A lot better than it did before. I mean, obviously there's still some high spots and some low spots. I can actually see them, but it's getting a lot better. And I levelled those whetstones on my levelling stone before putting them on here, so I know they're perfectly flat. But I'll level them again, and we'll take it for another spin. And it looks pretty good. There's a few spots actually that I can see, some low spots. There's some scoring there, which is my mistake actually with this while it was spinning, and I'm probably not going to get that out unless I start going at it even more. But you can just see a few little low spots here and there, but you know, it isn't the end of the world, and it's not bad. It's not bad. It's basically as good as I'm going to get it here, really, and it took me about three and a half hours to do this properly. All back together, very smooth. It feels a lot better than the other transmission did when it was in its case. So that's basically it. So I'm going to put the bell housing back on now. So I filled the transmission up with oil just through here, and just giving it a spin. It's really nice to turn. Just no grinding, and really smooth, good resistance. But it's mainly just to check for leaks actually, now that the silicon's set in, just to see if the output's leaking. Obviously the input will leak because there's a big open hole there. The NP231 needs to go in it. So I'm going to just drain that out now, and it just helps kind of wash out a few bits of crap. So the transmission's done, it's all painted, and I've just popped on the NP231. You can see I've siliconed between the two gearboxes basically, but you don't need to do that. But it just means if the rear seal ever leaks on the back of the transmission, then it won't leak oil everywhere. It just gets contained between that little space in there between the NP231 and the AX15. You know, you might think that it might contaminate the oil, but it actually doesn't. It just lives in between. It doesn't get into this because it has its own seal. But you know, you don't have to do that if you don't want to. So yeah, just going to get it bolted up, and then this will stay like this until tomorrow, after the clutch is all installed, and then a friend of mine's going to come over and help me put this back in because it's you know, very heavy. Do you know, I went through all this trouble drilling holes in it and screwing around with it, and it's so easy to take out. Look, it's out. And there's the rear main seal. It's, you know, hopefully they've sent me the right one. Sometimes Autodoc are notorious for just sending you the wrong part. But that can go over there. There's also this little O-ring as well, which goes on the flywheel side, held in with a bit of grease. But that's it, we're all prepped this end for installation. So I've just got to wait for the parts now. Well, I've got the transmission all painted and ready to install, and I also painted some of the other parts too, like the drive shaft and the skid plate and the cross member. Just got everything cleaned up, and the new parts have arrived. I've got the rear main seal just here. Got another O-ring here for the back of the flywheel, and some new bolts for the flywheel. Obviously the flywheel's finished. The clutch has arrived. Looks very good, decent quality, and yeah, just going to get all this installed right now. Hopefully get this back together. I've actually got the transmission under the Jeep ready to go in. Do not ask me how I managed to get that in there. This is not the most easy space to film, but just clean the surface up obviously, and now I'm going to tap this guy in and hopefully not trash it and then have to wait for a long time. Just got like a plastic hammer. It's not really the best thing to do to be whacking on the seal, but yeah, okay. Whew. Go and put a little bit of grease on it. I'm just going to grease it up a bit. So I've got a little O-ring here that needs to go in first, and I've just put grease on it, keep it in place like that, and then this can be set in place. Only goes on one way. Oh my god, the weight of this creature. Oh. Is it on? No. I'm afraid to let go. I put one bolt there. Yeah, there we are. I'll just use my phone as a source of light. Is it? Yeah, it is. It's in place. So I've popped all the bolts in. They're not tightened. I'm just going to rotate the flywheel and put a dowel through here, like a punch, because obviously I've got to tighten this. So that's kind of the way you find top dead center, which will what be the engine would be now if you were mucking around with the timing and stuff. So it's quite a useful feature. I think a lot of vehicles have that though. But yeah, going to get this torqued to 49. Let's have a look. It's on a forum there, so yeah, I know all this stuff back of my head. What? Yeah, so 49 Newton meters, so 36 foot-pounds. And we go in a star configuration, like that. Yeah, over to the other side. And that's it. Loosen one bolt at a time and tighten to 19.6 Newton meters, 14 foot-pounds, plus 75 degrees using the cross tightening method until complete. God, that just seems bullshit. Why can't... all these stupid things. Right, so we need to loosen them. Loosen one by a time and then tighten to 19.6 using the cross star. Well, we ended there, didn't we? I think we ended there, so let's just go back that way. Oh, great, the dowel came out. This is like a lot of fun. There it is. Lock that in. Loosen one. And then tighten to 19 Newton meters, which is absolutely piss all. And my torque wrench doesn't even go there. What is that? 14 foot-pounds. I mean, it's nothing, is it? So I guess we'll do 20 foot-pounds and pray. I'm sure it'll be all right. Excellent. This is going good. All right, like that. I guess we're putting a 75-degree rotation on it. I didn't actually film that. It was just really difficult. I had to be in all kinds of different positions to make that work, to get the leverage on them. But I managed to put roughly around a 75-degree twist on all of them, and it was pretty difficult to do actually. And I've just been dialing up the torque wrench, checking what foot-poundage that might actually be. And it's pretty damn tight. It's well over 113 foot-pounds. So I'd imagine they're pretty damn tight, and I Loctited them as well, which it didn't say to do, but you know, it's just a bit of insurance really. You can always get the air gun on them one day and take them off. That's not a problem. It's always putting these things on that's a pain when you're on the ground. But now I'm going to put the clutch in. Oh, but first I've got to put this this thing in, this pilot bearing. So normally when you buy a clutch, you get like a plastic tool, like a dowel that goes in there, and it's got the same spline shape on as the input shaft on the transmission. I don't get that, so I've had to make something. I've just welded something together and turned it on the lathe, this back part, but I just took a hair too much off. It goes in there like that. It's a little bit on the loose side, but I'm hoping it will just help, you know, just help to get this in on the clutch. You've got the flywheel side there, and you've got the outer part there, and that can sit on there. At least it gives me the ability to mount it a little bit better. And then we've got this bit here that's going to go on. This should just go over like that. Bloody hell, it's heavy. Don't know what I'm gonna do, Mum. Alright, I'll get that on there like that. At least I get a couple of these bolts and I might be alright. So I've got these torque to spec, just 50 Newton meters. I've actually put a tiny bit of Loctite on all of them as well. You know, I'm sort of a bit mindful of this job. I don't want to revisit it. But that dowel comes out really nicely. So I really hope that the transmission is aligned okay. And the next step now is actually to, well, put the thrust washer on, the thrust bearing, whatever it's called. And then slide the transmission forward and see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to slide this on here. I have put a little bit of grease on all of this. Looks like we've got some sort of spring clip thing. I don't know what that really, if that's necessary. I guess it is. I don't know how I'm going to put that on, but basically that goes like that, which is pretty cool. Is that it? Wow, that is the shittest thing I've ever seen. So it looks like it's actually broken, because it is. So I hope that doesn't mean I'm going to need another one. Well, there's my repair. Looking pretty shitty, but I mean, I've used some very thick spring wire like that. It's clamped around the back and a couple of cable ties. I don't know whether that will last or not. I've been here for ages trying to sort this out, really a long time, but I think it'll be okay. It wasn't even there when I took the whole thing apart originally. This is actually from my spare engine and spare throwout bearing arm, so I assume it's not a big deal and it will return back. I guess it's just an anchor point, but whatever, it's something there. Let us see how this goes. This, to be honest, to me I think is not going to work without friends and help. My makeshift transmission jack is basically like a big slab of wood bolted to this. So I've welded that to the top, it's bolted on. I've got a support block at the back, and I'm going to put a bottle jack there to adjust the tilt. So we guide this sucker in. I mean, it's moving pretty easily. I'm not putting much effort in to move it, which is a good sign. We'll get that on there, we'll fix that and clean that up. Actually, right now. Where be my rag? Oh no. There it is. So, yeah, just gonna clean that up, clean the top. Piece of wood there. Like so. Bottle jack. There's some teamwork going on here between the jacks. Check it out. Oh man, that doesn't look safe at all, does it? Oh. Why won't you go in your hole, bitch? Come on. Oh, it's gone in. It's in. Well, I'm not gonna lie, that was brutal. I think if I was going to do this again, I would do it without the transfer case on, and do the transmission just one thing at a time, because you've got plenty of room to put those bolts on. I tried to bite off more than I could chew, as per usual. But you know, it's in. Well, it's all buttoned up. You can see underneath it's looking really nice, all very, very shiny, which is obviously quite nice, really. It's not a job I wanted to do, but I'm glad it's done, and it's looking a lot better under there. I've driven it as well, taken it for a drive. I didn't bore you with the footage, but basically it's shifting like a completely different beast, as expected. That transmission has had significantly less miles on it, and looking a lot better than mine, obviously, and it's just shifting really smoothly and very quietly, and just sounding a whole lot better. You know, the clutch feels better. It's much softer. Before, the clutch was extremely hard, and you know, that's generally a sign that it's not releasing very well. So yeah, really happy with it. But one noticeable thing is the rear drive shaft slip yoke is much tighter on the splines now. You know, it's shifting a lot smoother too. So that's a wrap really on this video. I just want to say a big thanks to a mate of mine online, Hodge. He basically sent me a synthetic line and obviously a fair lead to go with that synthetic line on my winch. It took a really long time to come, and you know, it's finally here. And it's great to put that on. It saved a lot of weight, you know, the fair lead and the cable. And it's also added a lot of safety as well to the vehicle and given me a lot more confidence. And it means I don't need, you know, that big snatch block I've got too. So ultimately, you're just kind of shaving off weight gradually. And next winter, I'm putting this thing for a weight loss program. And I'm going to be building a new rear tyre carrier bumper and, you know, rethinking a lot of stuff on the vehicle. I might even try and get someone to build those fenders in fiberglass for me too. You know, so you know, to cut down on even more weight. But anyway, that's another project in a year's time. Now it's time to get out camping. But I've got my parents here from the UK. They're actually visiting. First time I've seen them in over 3 years, and they've just met my son, who's 2 years old. And he's pretty excited to meet his grandparents. Obviously, he probably doesn't quite understand who they are, but he's met them on Skype, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to be with them for a few weeks now, kind of obviously spending time with family and, you know, enjoying their company. So you won't see me for a little while, but yeah, in the next video, unlike the intro on this one, hopefully you will see me out camping, taking all this kit for a spin and kind of enjoying all of this work that's gone on over the last sort of 9 months. It's just been flipping heck, it's been nuts. But look, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Any questions, right below. You know, thanks again, Ronald McDonald, for you know, making all this possible. Yeah, so see you in the next video. Take care.